Hello! Oh man, I did all that work to make sure that the camera had the headroom right and everything before I actually went live, and now it's like, no. I try not to actually fuss with the camera once I've actually gone live, but there's a certain level of it that I just can't stand. Oh lordy. Okay. That'll do. Yeah. No, I feel that I had Thursday always feels like Thursday, but I always forget that I do things on Thursday. And then I come into the fun part. Oh, hello. Glad to see everybody. Everybody, welcome. I need to not do that particular accent because that sounds like a pastor, and that's not what I'm trying to do. But yes, hi guys, how you doing? Okay, and now there's cat mischief. I should expect nothing else. Oh yeah, and I really was like, I'm so ready to go. I spent extra time setting up today, actually. And then it was like, you spent extra time setting up? That's nice. This will not go to plan. I was like, oh, okay, I understand. Hi Hermes, how you doing? Hi Onyx, how are you doing? Okay. I did also, yeah, So, fun thing about ADHD meds. They work really, really, really well for exactly the amount of time that they are active, and then when they wear off, I am back to normal, which is great. I should be back to normal. But boy, am I realizing like how scattered, because this is the first live that I've done since having the meds. I got you, Lynn. I had a feeling that's what you meant. But this is my first time doing the live since having the meds. They help so much. They are wonderful, useful, excellent thing. Yeah. When they are gone, and then I'm like, wow, I did a lot. I'm really tired. But we're here today. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to talk about... I'm honestly going to spend probably a good chunk of time talking about my new deck. Because I love my new deck. I said in the Discord I might do a review, and I might actually do a video review. I was like, maybe I'll start getting into... Again, now that I have the meds and that they are working, maybe I'll use them and I'll do some recording on the weekends, because I've always meant to record on the weekends, and I always have video ideas, and I never have, like, it's always an executive function problem to get the videos made. Like, either I'll film it and I can't edit it or whatever, it doesn't matter. Woe is me. But I was like, it could be fun to do tarot reviews as like a video format. So regardless, I just was like, I'm excited about my deck, so I'm going to want to talk about that today. We can also just chat for a little bit first. I was also having the purr tea next to the cats going purr. I was also thinking about, I haven't checked the astrology for this week, but the fact that I have not felt a need to check the astrology for the last week or two is somewhat encouraging to me. I have not felt like and obviously, personally, I felt better because of medication, but overall, I felt like the energy stuff has been less of a mess the last, week or two. So I'm just like, might I dare say maybe the chart is okay? Hello, Christina. Happy to see you, as well as everybody else. I have also been... I'm already 2 accents deep. I guess 3 if you count my normal speaking voice as an accent. I've been watching Bridgerton. Because I never watched it, and I know people love it, and so I decided to try and watch it. It is good. I'm enjoying it. The accents, man, they're not bad. They're fine. But I think I'm just like, I don't know. It's just I've just got all these weird accents in my brain left over from watching the show. So please forgive me. I know you will because you guys tend to enjoy my weird little accents. But who knows? There might be more of that than usual today. I am just quickly. If I were a real streamer, I would have a way to do a PIP, picture-in-picture thing of the astrology chart if I was going to talk about astrology. But I don't have that. I have an iPad, and I love my iPad. So that's what I'm just going for. Oh, that's right. Okay, this is an interesting thing to me. It's very interesting to me. Uranus is at 27 degrees of Taurus. I forget when in 2025 Uranus is supposed to leave Taurus and like stay out of Taurus this time. Did it retrograde back in? I don't even remember. My astrology knowledge is all over the place. When you cram enough stuff in and then you try to passively intake it, sometimes stuff slips back out, right? You know, just normal learning stuff. So I was like, I feel like I remember that Uranus was retrograde, but also that could be very wrong. Regardless, Uranus is going to leave Taurus this year, and I'm really excited to see what happens. I'm also slightly stressed. There's a whole thing about Uranus in Gemini. What was it? The natal chart for the U.S., I think. I'm literally just going to Google Uranus in Gemini. Yeah, and to give you a picture of like why I'm like, oh, this is an interesting thing. So Uranus tends to stay in a sign for years, like 5 or 7 years or something. So Uranus will enter Gemini this year and be there till 2032. So all of those outer planets have those like longer tracking time cycles, you know, like those longer periods spent in the different zodiac signs. And I just personally have thoughts and curiosities about Uranus in my own little studies. So I'm just like, that's why I find it particularly interesting. There is, I should probably not just read articles on Live, but it's so, okay, yes, this is what I'm looking for. This is from, this is Kelly Surtees. Yeah, kellysastrology.com. Kelly Surtees, love her. So she just came up with the thing that I was looking for in the Uranus and Gemini in the USA. So Gemini is an important sign for the USA. The US Sibley chart, which is the birth chart that most people use for the United States, has Sagittarius rising, which places Gemini in a prominent angular position on the descendant. So that's the 4th house. In that like 4th house and descendant, or no, 7th house. Sorry. Yeah. So 7th house being like partnerships, contracts, all that those kinds of things, including like business partnerships and all this. It's interesting. Uranus being this like harbinger of chaos. And like usually something interesting and new comes out of it. Like it's an innovative kind of chaos, but that doesn't mean that it's not destructive. So Uranus has some real power to some real punches that they may or may not pull at any given time. Hello, kitten cat. Cat arrival for the audience. Okay. So the transit of Uranus through Gemini from 1774 to 1782 includes the American Revolutionary War, which is where the U.S. Sibley chart starts during the Revolutionary War. I guess it was the... I don't remember the exact date that the Sibley chart starts, but I assume it's the Declaration of Independence. So yeah, this is me astrobabbling. I understand. I'll get to something that's more palatable in a second, probably. Probably. But this is just one of those things that I've been really like interested in tracking, you know? Yeah, it's so yeah, and that means the birth chart of the US, Uranus is in Gemini quite close to the descendant degree. Considering some of these past events, you might imagine that upcoming transition years will lead to a radical change and upheaval in society and how we arrange ourselves as groups, communities, and nations of people. I agree with that. I have been listening to people talk about this for years. I really haven't been on my like heavy astrology kick lately, but when I do, I listen to the astrology podcast, and they've been talking about this forever. That's where I learned about Kelly Surtees. She was on the astrology podcast all the time. Back in the day, she's not on the podcast in any capacity currently, but just great astrologer. If anybody's interested in this, I could put this article in the chat later, or in the Discord maybe. But yeah, so that's just been on my mind, and I wanted to chat about it because I was like, why am I thinking about astrology? That's why. So, Uranus in Gemini, upcoming later this year. Okay. This is one of those things where I'm like, that was not a coherent, cohesive educational thought. That is just me pondering things, because I'm great at pondering things. I'm quite the ponderer, if you might know. See what I mean with the Bridgerton? I'm quite the ponderer, if you must know. So, it's just interesting to... If I'm going to start going through cards and things, I might do a really quick... Look at the colors. Look at the... If I'm going to do astrology things, I might as well do a quick pull for what Uranus and Gemini is going to look like for the US. Right? That's a good idea, right? That won't be worrisome at all in any way, I'm sure. Oh no, why is my voice... Why is my voice... Yes, the new deck. I love the new deck. Hold on. Let me get a sip of water. My voice has felt fine all day, and now it's like, I would like to be scratchy and gross, please. And I'm like, denied. Denied. No. No throat. Be normal. Please excuse me. So, because I'm a ponderer. I ponder. Okay. So yes, let us use the new... I had half a second where I was like, should I check what I cut the deck to? The tower. Oh, don't zoom in on the face. No. Oh, this could be a problem. If I do that. And just King of Swords and the tower. I don't know if I did put the deck down and then pick it up again, so I don't know which was upright and which was inverted when I put it down. But the tower and the King of Swords is certainly... That's something to start with. This deck is sassy. This deck... First of all, let's just take a second and look at the tower card. It's so cool. I love this rendition of, like, I guess it is the moon, right? Not the sun. Yeah, I presume that's meant to be the moon. Just, like, energy beaming down on the tower to be the thing that wrecks it, and this guy, like, and just, like, the proportions are very cartoonish, but they're very, and, like, almost puppetry-like. The art is kind of commedia dell'arte-y as well. Like, I love it. Like, you can tell, looking at, like, is my main deck still in the other room? I think my main deck is still in the other room. But, like, similar to the art style of this one, where it's, like, it's certainly not, like, Renaissance art. My main deck is more like Renaissance art than this one is. But they're by the same guy, and he just got this, like, style and this thing, you know? It's a UFO. I think you probably... see if I can just get it up there. So yeah, it's like the moon. The deck is called the Deviant Moon Tarot. So the moon features pretty heavily in all of the cards, almost all the cards. I think it's in all the cards. So, like, the King of Swords in a traditional tarot deck would not have a moon signification on it, but in this one, it's the Deviant Moon Tarot. There's a moon on basically every card. Sometimes it's like, so this is the 10 of swords here. The guy is like, it's giving the man on the moon, like, cheese man, you know? But so, like, this guy is the moon in this card, right? But depending, most of them just have 3 of Pentacles. Most of them just have the moon in the sky. So in the case of the tower, that is meant to be the moon beaming energy down and destroying the tower. Regardless, we're going to read no further into, I'm going to do a reading on Uranus and Gemini in the US and cutting the deck to the King of Swords and the tower. We're not going to think about that anymore. We're going to continue with the reading. It is very UFO-like because of all the ornamentation they put around it. It's like ornamental lens flare, kind of, right? Like, focus. Yeah. Focus. Yeah. Can I move it up closer now? Nope. That's the focal length of this lens. But yeah. It is very UFO-like. I agree. Okay. Let us shuffle. I will say one thing that I did not think about, seeing this deck in the box. This is a long deck. Like, ooh, oh, yeah. Temperance is a good one. Look at that. The first time that I looked through this deck, I was literally just sitting on my bed, going through the deck card by card, and I've done that with my other decks. I do that with a lot of decks the first time that I get them. But boy, I was just like, it felt like those videos of the people who like buy the Pokemon cards and go through and open the packs. Like, it felt like I was opening packs of Pokemon cards, except I was just going through the deck, my own deck of tarot cards that I just bought. I was very amused. Another fun fact about tonight's live, I did not remember to charge my computer before I started. So we started with about 30% battery, and we are on 22% battery at this moment in time. So this live may be limited specifically to the amount of battery that my computer has. We shall see. Okay, back on track. So, yeah, the actual dimensions of the deck, it's relatively thin this direction, but it's really long. Which is, I actually like, I feel like most, like, generally speaking, the proportions of a deck are more like there-ish. But I quite like the long, thin deck, because it feels more in this style, right? And this is the borderless edition, so I guess there's an edition of this deck that has borders. I love that this is borderless. This feels correct to me. I cannot imagine having borders on this deck. It feels weird to think about. So, just like getting engrossed in the art. Like, this is an art deck, but it's also a sassy deck. It's a real, like, straight shooter, but like in a sassy way. I really like it. Okay, I digress. So, okay. So what will Uranus and Gemini look like for the US? We're talking about a long time period here. So, like, we're talking about far more than the length of a single presidency. So I'm very interested to see what comes up here. Hello, Amber. How you doing? I've been rambling and ranting about the upcoming Uranus in Gemini, which is not happening for months, by the way. I keep talking about this like it's going to happen like next week. It's not. Uranus is at 27 degrees of Taurus now. It's going to take at least a few more months. The fuck was that? Okay. That was not spiritual. That was fully like someone's knocking on something, but I think it was just my dad. Maybe the dog? I don't know. It's fine. God, just look, the nine of Pentacles. Look at this deck. It's so good. Okay, so yeah. So Yeah, so I'm just excited about it because it's one of those things that I've been like Uranus is really interesting to me, and a lot of astrologers have been talking about Uranus entering Gemini and how it's going to be a big deal for the U.S. because it's in the U.S. natal chart. So we going for it. And I said I was going to do this reading for the U.S. and Uranus and Gemini, and I cut the deck to the Tower and the King of Swords. So that's your update. You're up to speed now. Look at the moon. Look at the actual moon card. Oh my god, my arm is not at the correct angle for this. Okay. And the moon flipped over again. It's fine. Every once in a while something flips over, and it's like, okay, I know that logically that would have been the thing to flip over because I cut the deck. The moon was the card in the bottom here, and then it was the last one to come out when I did this form of shuffling that I do. Like, this last one sometimes does flip over. So, Ace of Wands. I love the art in this deck. It's so good. Okay. I am scatterbrained, but that's okay. This was also, as much as having ADHD meds is great, and it is very much helping, I was also just incredibly scattered all day at work. I was flipping back and forth between clients and projects and deadlines like a crazy person. So, this is just further manifestation of that energy, I guess. Oh, is this what we're reading here? Sure is. Sure is. Okay. That's intimidating. Like, it's not a terrible card. Okay, is there more? I feel like there's more. There's definitely more. Okay. So that's going to be like a phase 1 kind of a thing, or like maybe not in timeline order, but just that's a pack. I do this sometimes. I talk about cards coming out in packs. I just mean like a set to be read together. This is literally, this is just my own terminology, but this would be like a pack of one, right? And there's another pack to pull for this question, for this query, this quandary. Okay. What else? What else? Sheep, sheep, sheep. I also just love the sound of cards clattering. They sound good. Okay. So is it this way? Yeah. For America? Okay. Is there one more? It feels like there's one more. Okay. All will be revealed shortly. I will say, the tiniest gripe I have about this deck, the tiniest one, smallest little thing, some of the cards, ooh, okay, is this, yeah, okay. Some of the cards seem to have these little, as somebody who worked in a print shop, I can't tell if these are printing errors or if these are crop marks, but some of them have this like little, you see this little white thing? I realize it won't focus quite right. That's not like a star. That's like on a lot of the cards. So that makes me think that those are crop marks to like cut the cards down to, but the fact that they're showing is bad. So there might be teeny tiny quality control. I don't know. I don't know exactly how they made this deck, so I can't say for sure, but that's what that looks like to me, and it's on a lot of the cards. Regardless, hello kitten, welcome back. Okay. Sip of water first. What's that accent, like 7? Completely different weird accents. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So the first card that came out. One of my favorites for its personality. The Five of Cups. Focus. There we go. So, as I always say, this is the Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk card. Bro's like actively getting lectured, but also like you can tell like this he's kind of a kid, right? It makes feeds in more to the don't cry over spilled milk energy and vibe of this card, that like he is clearly inferior to her in rank in whatever way. Like it looks like a kid and a maid, or a kid and a mom, right? Like, whatever it is, she's in charge of him. She's mad. He's like freaking out. It's very, but he's also got this like weird little mischievous grin, right? Like half terrified, half excited. Like it's weird. They're very expressive, the faces in this deck. They're also just like, God, their eyes are so cool. They're like, focus. Yeah. They've got this like almost makeup looking thing going on. Yeah, look at that. Or like almost blue eyeliner kind of. Anyway. Regardless. So that was our first card of just like, there's gonna be some upsets. There's gonna be some probably crazy energy, crazy vibes, crazy like feelings thrown about. Yeah, that's a thought. If anybody has extra thoughts to throw out while I'm reading, go for it. I am going to move on to the second little pack here. But just as a general forewarning, having the Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk card in a reading for what is ultimately going to be like a 7-year period of time, right? It's going to be 2025 to 2032. That's what it was. So, this is a long duration. There is going to be some upset. There's probably going to be some... I'm going to hold that. We're going to move on to this next card. So the second pack, this is one where I was like, ooh, interesting, really? For the US? So, inverted Two of Cups. And inverted King of Cups. So, this is 3 out of 4 cards are all cups. We're heavy in that wishy-washy, watery, flowy, changeable, mutable, probably a little bit uncomfortable for that long of a time period kind of energy. So the Two of Cups being, like the specific partnership marriage type card. Like, I'll flip it right side up for you for a second. But it's giving Corpse Bride, except like they're both kind of giving dead because he's a skeleton, right? But the artwork's fucking beautiful. But it does feel to me like there's gonna probably be by that point some more close alliances, possibly with the US, that are going to be maybe still not in good standing. We'll see, but that's my read on that. King of Cups inverted. Whatever political establishment that we have at that time, which I hope will be different than the current one. Well, obviously it won't. 2025, 7, 8, right. This presidency is going to run out. Hopefully this is that kind of upset, and that actual turning of the tide and rulership change. That is what I would hope from this card being part of there, but I cannot push my hopes onto the cards. I must simply read them. And regardless, I mean, just we all know the political state of the U.S. is going to be crazy. No matter what happens, the position of the presidency is probably going to continue to be unstable during that time period, which is not great to hear, but also, we'll see. Whatever happens, I guess. It is also, so this particular King of Cups, he's like literally standing on an island, right? So I was like, who knows? Maybe Bro will get shipped off. Maybe we just don't have to do it anymore. I'm simply speculating at this time, of course, but that is a tense, weird preparing to come out in that sort of second pack here. I think coming back to this one is going to be a good practice, right? Of like, there's gonna be a lot of weird shit. There's gonna be wins and losses and ups and downs, and we're, you know, everybody fucking disagrees on what's best anyway, right? Even though we all have opinions and may feel that we are correct. So, like, the signification of this card is not that everything will be fine, but it's that, like, there are things you cannot control and you simply have to let happen at a certain point. And, like, fix it up and do whatever you have to afterwards. So that's your Don't Cry Over Spilled Milk card, right? So just coming back to that. And then I do have slight thoughts about the artwork on this card, but this last little set, been getting lots of readings about Water and the Flow of Tides recently. Yeah. I mean, I've always thought of myself as a very, like, water aligned person, so I get it. I feel like a lot of my readings have that element in them, but just to have, honestly, to have Uranus, which is, if anything, sort of like, to me, energetically, it's like gaseous plasma-y, like thinking of Uranus as a lightning strike as well. Do not associate that with water personally. And Gemini is an air sign, so it's interesting to me to have elementally this much stuff going on. But obviously, there's going to be a lot more happening in the time period of Uranus and Gemini than just like Uranus's position in Gemini. So I find that curious, but for energetically what we need to know, I think that's good to have as a perspective of, like, what's upcoming, right? And then our last little pack here, again, just one card, is the inverted Two of Pentacles. That's definitely going to come down to a rebalancing of energy, finances, materials. What was that? What was that? In 2020, there was a Uranus thing, like, in conjunction with the shipping delays and everything else that was happening. I can't remember what that was, but I'm assuming something is going to get in the way of, like, global trade again. Maybe not to the same degree, but there's definitely going to be a lot of reshuffling, renegotiating, gerrymandering. I was going to say jerry-rigging, and then gerrymandering happened, and I was like, why does that feel more correct? So maybe that. The inversion here does definitely lean more to that instability and that, like, need for balance, right? I mean, she's obviously, it's like, the character is in sort of the style of a Romani person, right? Roma, or but also this, yeah, it's a little performative, I'm not trying to make a statement there, right? But it's very showy, and ultimately it comes down to the whole focus lands back on those pentacles in her hands and what she's doing with them and what position they are in right now. So that was maybe more of a grim prediction than I was necessarily expecting to have. Actually, that's a lie. I was kind of expecting it to be a bummer. But that's not the worst. That's not the most bummer. That is not. I have made much more bummer predictions in the past, so I will take that. I do feel like I need to quickly just breath cleanse, air cleanse the deck. I might even do my sound cleansing thing that I do sometimes. I don't know if I've done that on live before. I just finished the full reading. In short, definitely instability, probably in trade, also probably in government, etc., etc. It's gonna be a weird time. Trying not to freak out. again, this time period isn't even happening. Starting for a few more months, and then it's gonna last for 7 fucking years. So we will all probably survive it. You know. This is actual real wood. This is not. But I wrote this. This is more visually. This is more visually descriptive, and this is more what I'm actually trying to do. Anyway, regardless. So that's my thoughts on that. So I do just kind of like, I partially am just trying to show off the deck, right? Because I love it. Page of Swords. Hello, just saying hi. I know, if I hadn't already put the cards back in, I would try and read it back through for you really quick. But that's my best bet. You're gonna have to watch the recording, I'm sorry. If you want to know the full deets, but it'll be okay. Excuse me. Excuse me. Also, by the way, new glasses. I just got these today. They're my old pair that I love, and I've had like 3 or 4 pairs of, are lovely, and I will probably continue to wear them. I don't know if I'm going to switch these to my main pair or if they're just going to be my backup pair. But I got new glasses because I wanted to change, and also my other ones got scratched. So, I like them. They're not terribly different. They're just a little different. Thank you. What is this? Why is this? I don't know why this is, so I'm not going to read it, because that's... I'm just idly shuffling my deck. And normally when cards just fall out of my deck and I haven't asked a question, I read them because normally it means it's for me. But I'm not doing readings for me on live. So, yeah, no. How are you guys doing, by the way? I don't think I ever did a, like... I'm also checking my battery. Is everybody doing okay? Especially now that you're properly here, Lid. How you doing? I'm just, like... I'm so enamored with this deck that I'm just... Oh, yeah, I was going to do the sound cleansing thing. Y'all may type as you wish, of course. I'm just going to do this. I have like 2 or 3 different kinds of sound cleanses that I'll do for my deck, but that's one of them where I just try to resonate and hum really nasal forward. Anyway. Nice. Good job, everybody. Please survive and make it through the school year. You go do things. Beat school. Win. Rah. Rah, win school, beat school, rah. I don't know. I am your cheerleader, apparently. Then working the summer, yeah. I do always, I have teacher friends who I can ask, and I still don't really know what teachers do during the summer. What do you guys do? 9 of Cups. Look at this card. It's so good. So good. Hello, Vesta. Howdy do. Oh, and the devil. Oh my gosh, the devil. Look at this happy little guy. and then there's the 6 of Cups. I really like this deck, you guys. Like, I like the actual sort of, like, puppetry card in this deck that is very overall reminiscent of, like, puppetry styles. Right? I am so... Good deck, good purchase, good job, Matt. And also thank you, Kayla, for helping to convince me to go ahead and buy it. Oh, yeah. That is funny. There's a lot of... considering how exaggerated this deck is, I feel like it's the Deviant Moon Tarot. So all of the cards have the moon in there somewhere. Either the character has a lunar face, moon face, like this one, or the moon is just a focal point or in the background. If I can get that focus there. But yeah, like, for being as stylized as it is, and I am going to use Lovers because it's in my hand at this moment that I'm talking about this, the bodies feel very, like, real and substantial, which may have something to do with just, like, there's a lot to do with the clothing and the styling and all that stuff in this deck as well. But just, like those, just for how weird and stylized these are and, like, how much of a caricature they are of people, they feel very real, even though there's weird shit, like, so, because she's, like, this sort of silky mermaid girly, right? So she's got these, like, crazy, not to focus on the feet too much, but, like, she's got like 3 long, creepy little toes. But it's very, like, it's a thing, you know? It's very, like, visceral, like, I don't know. I just think that, like, the focus on the body in this weird cartoonish deck is really nice. Like, look at those fingers. Look at those fingernails. Instead of fingernails, they're like little baubles on a jester hat. Like, it's just such a fucking cool deck. Ace of Cups. Look at how beautiful she is. Oh my god. Okay. Just dead. I'm just obsessed with this deck. It is kind of giving Picasso a little bit. There's a little bit in here about, like, how the artist made them. A lot of it is, like, using altered photography, which is really cool. Oh yeah, the snake is biting the dude. I didn't even notice. This also, so the same way that we were talking about in the Tower card, the moon is kind of like in this crazy energy moonbeam thing. A lot of them have some kind of, like, the moon putting their influence out. So, like, in this one up here in the corner, you can see the moon is, like, blowing on them from a distance, weirdly, which is also happening in the Ace of Cups a little bit more dynamically and a little bit more obviously. It's also happening back here. What card is this? This is the 8 of Swords, which is always this one where it's, like, very trapped feeling, right? And it's also, like, sort of pushing its influence on there. Just the active participation of the moon as a character in the deck, I love. It's so good. Yeah, this is just beautiful, darling. Beautiful. I don't know if it's a breath of life or if it's just, like, because to me the breath of the moon, especially when you look at it in, like, this, like, that looks like a cold breath, right? Like, that looks like a thing you have to deal with. Like, you can't ignore what the moon is doing in this card, and that it's, like, having this active role in, like, interacting with and kind of changing the situation. So I just, you know, I would read it differently depending on the reading for the person, but, like, I would say I'm slightly tempted. I love my main deck. I don't think this will become my new main deck, necessarily, but I think it's going to become a strong second, if not just being, like, co-main deck. But I do... most of the creative influences come from non-traditional sources. The imagery for the Deviant Moon Tarot is derived from childhood visions, seen through his imagination and carried into adulthood, particularly the cemeteries he enjoyed playing in as a child. Also incorporated into his artwork are the melancholy moonlit scenes from of distant factory smokestacks, insane asylums, and abandoned buildings. It's just got such a character to it. There is something else in here about character stylization was influenced by ancient Greek art, yet I added slightly abstracted twists. Chose to draw the figures in a flat playing card style, rendering them with heavy light and shadows, then placing them in shallow background. Symbolism comes from childhood dreams and imagination, carried itself into my adult world. I've always felt intrigued with the melancholy side of life and such express visions through the characters I create. The moon has always been a psychic friend to me, and as the sentinel of the night, it feeds my dreams and casts a strange glow on the way I see the colors of reality. Yeah, there's something else about how he like took pictures of the cemetery and used those to like make the deck somehow. I don't fully understand, but it's just such a conceptually strong deck, and it's got like I didn't even have to. And to some extent, this is the credit of the shop I bought it from. I did not feel the need to cleanse this deck in any extended, dramatic way after I got it home. It was just like ready to go. Like I normally do some kind of incense cleanse on my decks. I didn't feel any need to do that. It just started like kicking and resonating and felt clean and felt energetic and ready to go immediately. And I think that's both due to the shop and the deck itself. It's just an excellent little piece, in my opinion. Yeah, I would, as far as why the snake would be biting the man's ankle, I would, that's one of those things that I would read on a case-by-case basis in a reading. I would, like, actually use other psychic clues and abilities to try and interpret what that may or may not mean in a given situation. Because it's like, it's not necessarily that, you know, things like, is the snake venomous or not, right? Is it biting in, like, offense or defense, right? Stuff like that. There's a lot of questions that I would immediately start asking given the context of the other cards and the other psychic abilities that I have that I might be using at the time that would help me interpret that. Generally speaking, ultimately, the card is the Lover's card, which has a meaning. So anything... I love talking about the character of different decks, and I love using the art to inform my reading, and that's why I like having different decks, because they do have different character and different voices that way. But ultimately, the Lover's card is the Lover's card, and if I'm just reading with this deck, like, I mean, I probably chose the deck for a reason. There's probably some level of, like, premeditation and psychic and energetic and whatever there, right? But otherwise, ultimately, if I feel that the reading just calls for this is the Lover's card, the Lover's card does not normally have a snake biting a man's leg in it, so I'm not going to draw too heavy of a conclusion there. It's just all part of it. It's part of what you do as a reader. There's a lot of contextual interpretation, and it's also why, aside from when I'm really trying to, like, if I'm actively trying to read for people in a live setting, I will stick to one card, because that is ultimately the most efficient way to get you the most useful information and also get to the other people that are there. In a real reading setting, I'm never pulling one card. I'm always reading in context. It's always about the card that came before and the card that came after. You guys saw me do that earlier with, like, after I read that second pack, and I immediately came back and talked again about how the first card influences the entire rest of the set that I was reading, right? Of, like, these things are happening, but your attitude has to be sort of adjusted with this perspective in order to ultimately intake all that stuff, right? So, I digress once again. But it's just, it does, like, the deck resonates, the art resonates, the sort of purpose and the intent behind it and the creator all makes sense to me. The fact that he, like, saw this stuff as part of, like, his imagination and everything, like, look at this graph. No, look at this Ace of Swords. Look at this photograph. Look at this graph. Anyway, I have nothing to say about that. I have nothing else to say about my recent outburst here. Oh, I did not look at the belly button. I don't know. if we're still talking about the Lover's card, I mean, like I said, she's like a silky mermaid type something or other. I mean, whatever happens, happens. Oh, that is so sweet, Vesta. I would love to see you once again. I would love to read for you with these cards and see what we can get out for you. I'm always happy to read for you guys. You know what to do. That is a really sweet thing to say. Thank you. The King of Wands. Look at the King of Wands, you guys. Look at it. Look at that crazy little imp, guys. Look at that. So good. Okay. Quick tarot question. How much do you shuffle a deck when it is newly purchased? You're gonna hate me for this. It's all down to vibes. It depends how much I feel that I need to connect with the deck versus how much, like this one, I truly was able to pick this one up and start reading, pretty much. I shuffled it a couple of times, just because excuse me. Frankly, the deck was just not shuffled, right? When you get a deck, when you get a new deck, they're in order. So I just shuffled it enough that the cards were not in order, basically. And again, you guys have seen how I read. I most often read the card that falls out. So I'm generally shuffling until a card falls out. I will certainly, oh no, my brain has fluttered away from me. Depending on where I bought the deck, depending on the energy the deck already has, I don't know if this is, I guess this is not technically the most recent deck I bought. It's buried, I can't grab it right now. But you guys have seen my black and white deck, the Bianco Nero? Nero? Yeah. Bianco Nero Tarot. I'm sure there's a pronunciation in a language that sounds better than that. But you guys have seen me use that deck. When I first got that deck, and Kayla was there for this too, I sat there and I fully, went through every single card, held every single card over the incense smoke, went through, shuffled it multiple times, spent time staring at each card, and I loved that process. That was worth doing. But also that deck kind of needed that. It needed to wake up, it needed to be alive, it needed to become my deck for a second. So that's all part of this sort of imbuing the deck with your energy, aligning it to your stuff, spending time with it, getting to know it. I felt like I needed to get to know that deck. I felt like I looked at this deck and I understood this deck immediately. Energetically, it didn't feel sticky. It felt flowy and loose in a good way. Ready to read and ready to go. Loose, the way that you, can flutter pages in a book, or obviously shuffle cards, but, for the sake of a metaphor here, or a simile, the cards shuffled like they do when you flip the pages of a book. So yeah, energetically, felt flowy, didn't feel sticky, felt clean, felt aligned to me. I understood it without needing to dive deeply into it. I did look at every card individually, but I didn't have to sit there and resonate with every card. I was just able to look at it and understand it. So, how much I'm shuffling after I buy a new deck is a completely, not to say it's an irrelevant question, because it's a perfectly fine question. But I'm just naturally shuffling it a lot because I kind of have this process that I go through. And in the case of this deck, the process didn't need to happen in the same way, so I just shuffled it enough to where I could start reading with it, and then I started reading with it, and that was all it really took. So, yeah, anyway. Vesta had a question. How do you determine that you fully connected with your new deck? Is it a vibe, or do you see it, or... Oh, okay, gotcha. you do not need to be fully connected with your deck to start reading with it, and reading with it will strengthen the connection with it. How's that for an answer? This deck I connected with very quickly. My original deck, my very first one, my main one that I still use in most readings up to this point, that one I think I connected to through the process of learning tarot, but also I've talked a million times about, like, I slept with that deck under my pillow for many nights, and not necessarily in any sort of ritualistic way, although it was part of my, like, habit and ritual of the day at that time kind of thing, but it wasn't like, it wasn't like 9 days and 9 nights or every 7th Sunday or anything. It wasn't anything like that. It was just like spending time with the deck, resonating with it, getting to know it. And that was my very first deck when I didn't know how to read tarot. So I was like, I really had to put that time into that one. Since then, like, how to determine that I fully connected with the deck, it is just a vibe, but like I said, you don't need to be fully connected with the deck to have this really useful understanding and ability to still read the deck, right? I still, to be so for real with you guys, this one, which I have used and I do love, I do not feel connected fully with this deck. I feel, if I'm going to be completely honest, my connection with this deck, which you guys have heard me talk about, and I do really enjoy and love, if we're going on like a percentage scale, it's like 40% max. Like, and there's a couple of reasons for that. So, again, if you can't tell just from the looking at the outside, it's the ones with these backs, this art style, right? And I love this deck for a lot of reasons, including that it does incorporate Zodiac. I actually quite like that I immediately pulled. This is a really good Seven of Cups, you guys. So good. So it's got beautiful art. It's got the Zodiac symbols. It's got the Venus and the Virgo here. Scorpio. Sorry, I was gonna say Scorpio, and then my Venus is in Virgo, and I said it's got the Venus in the Svorgo. It's got the Venus in the Scorpio in the Seven of Cups. That's a really useful thing. I can't look at this and know what it means. I know what the Seven of Cups means. I know what Venus means. I know what Scorpio means. I know what the symbolism of this card is, but I don't feel fully connected to this deck, and therefore I can't just like pick up this card and go, oh yeah, I had to really stare at it for a second. Connecting with the deck fully is a process. I have used this deck in front of you guys, and it works just fine. At the point that I do feel fully connected with the deck, frankly, I will know because I will just pick it up and I'll just be able to read it. Like, that's the thing that I keep coming back to and I keep saying out loud, right? It's like, if I can pick up the deck and I can just read it without worrying about it, I'm good. If there's some kind of like apprehension or tension in me because I feel unfamiliar with the deck, there's something I could do to improve that connection. Or maybe I just don't need to. To be 100% honest with you guys, I kind of bought this deck as a display deck. I bought this deck for use in magic and spells and things. I bought this deck to show it in lives. That's pretty much it. To use in ritual, spells, whatever. I've used this one. The strength card from this one is one that I put on while I was charging one of my sigils that you guys saw ages ago. I know I haven't been doing sigil stuff much lately, but again, like, that's what this deck was for. I knew that I loved this deck. I knew that I loved the artist who made this deck. Visually, I love the art style of this, but I just don't read it well. But it still has a ton of uses, and I'm me holding it here and talking about what I like about it is me connecting with this deck. It's like, I feel I've maybe gone from 40% to 43 or 45%, right? Like, there's just something about, like, you know, There are little things about, like, the card stock is not to my preference. The finish texture on the print and everything is a little bit meh to me. I like it. It's fine. It's very satiny, whereas this feels like a card to me. This is a little glossier, like this would honestly probably also be considered a satin, but it's a glossier satin. So, I see that. I know that you asked another question. I will sort of end it there. But yeah, you don't need to be fully connected with it. Using it will connect you more to it at the point that you feel like, and this doesn't mean that you need to know tarot perfectly either. At the point that I was able to pick up my main deck and just read it and not worry about it, I was not a proficient tarot reader yet. But I was proficient enough and comfortable enough with that deck that I was able to use all the things I've talked to you guys a million times about, of the numerology, the symbolism, reading the sort of art as a tableau, and like reading everything in context. I was able to use those skills in conjunction with this deck that I was comfortable with. And even if I didn't know what was supposed to be going on, I was able to figure it out. That's when I was like, oh, we're locked in, we're good, we're set, I'm all good here. So, long answer to a very good question. If you have a follow-up, let me know. I will switch to your other question now. Do you think decks have emotions? Like someone will say that a deck is mean, or that the deck loves or hates, or decks being jealous of another deck. Do we imagine emotions into tarot decks? I want to be careful about how I answer that one. I do believe that all of the decks have their own spirits. There is a structure to spirit and a structure to ideas and thoughts and archetypes and things in my perception of them. I believe that there is a spirit of the tarot. I believe that there is a general sort of a spirit that will be imbued in all decks made by the same person. I believe that there is a spirit to each deck edition, each deck. I believe that there's a spirit to the Deviant Moon Tarot. I also believe that there is probably a smaller, more specific spirit to, yes, the edition, whatever printing this is. I don't know if I have that information of like how many printings this deck has gone through. But I do believe that there is a spirit to that. There's a slightly different spirit to this. Like I said, this is the borderless edition. There's going to be a slightly different spirit and energy to the one with the border. All of these things are going to break down into different energies and different feelings and spirits that the decks have. Now, do I think your deck is like one's deck, not your deck? Do I think that one's deck loves them, or hates things, or loves stuff? Kind of. But if it's hindering your ability to read, that's a different thing. Because we will project stuff. I'm very big on like that sort of integration. Like we all know, we're all on the same page, I think, of the like spirituality and mental health have to be in a good alignment. I think if you have to be aware if you are projecting emotions like those onto your deck. That doesn't mean that sort of the spirit of the deck doesn't have a tendency. I think probably any printing, any edition of this deck will have this same cuttingness, the same sort of cutting, sharp vibe that this one has, but it's also like comedic a little bit as well. Like there's something about this deck and this art that has a feeling. And the feeling is just slightly different, but directly related to the spirit of the deck, right? Like all of these things funnel down, and all of these little threads and all these little bits come into a thing. This thing that I have in front of me is the only version of this thing. In the same way that, like, my fingers look like my father's fingers, and my father's fingers before him, but we all have different fingerprints. It's that kind of, like, there is a lineage and there's an energy that will overall have, that a deck will have overall. I would say the spirit of your deck could, like it is a spirit. It can have feelings, it can have thoughts, it can have things. I believe that these spirits are alive. That's me, that's how I think, that's how I talk about these things. That's what makes me an animist. I've talked about that label before and how it has some goods and some bads to it, but ultimately that is the most accurate thing to label myself with in the spiritual community. And how I view the world, as I am a, like, polytheistic animist, I guess, which is a little bit of a thing in itself. Whatever. Thank you. So, all that to say, your deck can have a feeling. Your deck can feel something, can think something, can be something. Ultimately, it's your deck. It's still a tarot deck. The fact that it has some consciousness to it, it is more alive. I've talked a million times. My analogy I always use that I do believe that this chair is alive in a way. That doesn't mean that I'm having conversations with the chair. I think a tarot deck has a much more refined energy and feeling and emotion to it than a chair does. But ultimately, if you feel like your deck has, like, hates things and loves things, A, that might be your guides. B, that might be you. C, maybe it's your deck. Maybe. I'm just like, I would be... It is a very good question, but it's a very... Like, this is why I said I want to answer this very carefully. Because it's not that I... It's not that I think that statement is incorrect. But I think people will... If I just say, oh yeah, your tarot deck hates stuff, then people will just be like, my tarot deck hates me, or my tarot deck hates my mom. I don't think that's the problem, and I don't think that's what we're going for. So, I'm not saying even that that's necessarily what you were implying with your question. It's a great question. I think it all comes down to a myriad of factors, and I think your guides, your personal projections, and, like, overall mental health, well-being, etc., are all things to think about before you label on your deck that your deck hates something. And you can tell I'm fixating on the hate part, right? Because that's the thing that I'm like, I don't want people to be like, my deck hates this and my deck hates that. Like, this is like, your deck may prefer things. My different decks prefer things. One of my decks prefers to be like this deck seems to be honestly quite happy in its little tuck box. My main deck did not like the box that it came in. It prefers to live in a thing. So it lived for a long time in a little just black sort of fleece bag thing. And now it lives in a lovely crocheted bag that Kayla made for me, which I love. And the deck loves it. Like, it's happy in there. It's like... So, like, I do believe that the decks are alive. They have preferences, they have thoughts, they have feelings. I would just maybe not go so far as to say that that means that your deck, like, loves or hates something. Fiend. Before I keep rambling. Outside influences could... Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you will be able to, like, really feel that your deck really hates something unless it's, like, your guide really hates something, like hates this for you, right? Like, you know, like I think that's a slightly different, like, I think you can feel strong emotions through the tarot, but I don't think that means your deck hates things. So, we are We are beyond an hour at this time. I think I'll start winding down. I'll grab my book in a second here, so you guys know the deal for that. If you want in, do your thing. As I, excuse me, give this one more blow off. I'm always careful. No, but genuine, it is a great question. And I think that everybody who's here will understand me when I say things in simpler terms. But partially, in part because this is going to be on YouTube. Not that I get a ton of views on these replays, but just for the sake of the recording, those are my long-form thoughts on that. You know? So, I am always careful to make sure that I answer any question with some semblance of thoughts of the current, thoughts of the present, and thoughts of the future. Alright. Book time, bibliomancy time. You should not be dusty. I use you all the time, yet you felt like you had dust upon you. Might have been incense, I don't know. Okay. Alright, I'm grounding down for a second. Give your general energetic affirmation that you would like to be included in this reading, if you so wish. For the next few days, week or so. Alright, this is passage 66. Rivers and seas can rule the 100 valleys, 'cause they are good at laying low. They are lords of the valleys. Therefore, those who would be above must speak as if they are below. Those who would lead must speak as if they are behind. In this way, the sage dwells above, and the people are not burdened. Dwells in front, and they are not hindered. Therefore the whole world is delighted and unwearied. Since the sage does not contend, no one can contend with the sage. I quite like that one. This is one of those, I can't remember if we've had this exact one on live before. I think we have. But there are a couple that have this similar message. I'll go ahead and just read it again before I say anything else. But rivers and seas can rule the 100 valleys, because they are good at laying low. They are lords of the valleys. Therefore, those who would be above must speak as if they are below. Those who would lead must speak as if they are behind. In this way, the sage dwells above, and the people are not burdened. Dwells in front, and they are not hindered. Therefore the whole world is delighted and unwearied. Since the sage does not contend, no one can contend with the sage. There's a lot about, taking the right position, taking those kinds of careful positions, right? Always in this book, learning from nature, right? Seeing the rivers and seas as teachers, in that the rivers and seas can rule the valleys because they are good at laying low. The sage dwells above, the people are not burdened, dwells in front, and they are not hindered. It's all about, if you're going to be in any kind of position of leadership, whether it's among friends, among family, among society, whatever, there's a certain level of staying out of the way that you have to do in order to allow everything to function and to move and to flow. Because if you were trying to rule like a rock, if If you are trying to rule like a falling boulder, you will make a splash and stay there forever. If you are trying to rule like a river, your rule will continue forever. That's not even from the book. That's off the dome. But, like, that's the kind of thing that it's talking about, right? This, like, laying low and staying out of the way, being observant, being present is part of what, like, leadership and active, like, being active in a community and being a leader of any sort. Because, again, there's a certain level of, like, political meaning to this book, right? As well as personal leadership and the idea of being the sage and becoming this, like understanding this greater being, etc. Yeah. You get the idea. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you all very, very much for joining me on this day. We'll see if the weird accents continue next week or not. Yes. Thanks for joining me, guys. Really appreciate it. Love seeing ya. Thanks for letting me yap about my new deck. Thanks for letting me yap about all kinds of spiritual things, because that is what I enjoy to yap about. I hope everybody has a good Friday tomorrow. Hope your weekends are great. We'll see you all next week. Bye, everybody.